what is innovation? What is the definition of innovation? And it typically touches on how you change things, or what the exploration is, the journey of looking for how can you improve, whether it's a product or a service that adds value. And that value could be value to the bottom line, it could be value to a corporation's position in the market, and usually it also focuses around the experience, right? So common good and innovation, I think, are kind of somewhat related, just in the definition and the core and the goals of what corporations, companies like Interac are looking to do when we actually build an innovation practice.
Humanity has gone through and is still going through just testing times, uncertain times. The pandemic, a supply chain crisis, energy shortages, high inflation, and a weaker economic outlook. Our communities, our personal lives are being impacted in uncounted ways. And these dynamics are bigger than just one person. They're bigger than one community, and it takes an ecosystem. And this is where innovation and building innovation, frankly, is critical.
We take those 10-year out signals, we bring them back, and actually we figure out what our corporate strategy is. And we don't develop the corporate strategy in a box. What we do is figure out internally what are the various stakeholders, externally who are the various stakeholders, because strategy is great, but until you put it into practice and execute on that strategy, it really is meaningless.
When you're trying to create a new system, a new framework, you have to take into consideration all the voices that need to inform and validate the system you're trying to create. Because whatever you're doing, if you're doing it in isolation, is not going to be able to be working for everybody. It has to be able to work for those that are going to be participating in the ecosystem or in that system, in that framework. They have to be able to be the buyer as well as the seller. They need to be able to serve their customers, and they need to be able to feel confident that their voice has been heard.
Interac's doing a lot today in the sphere of openness. We are engaged in many different committees. We're engaged in many different industry groups, working groups. We're always engaging with different stakeholders. And we're acting at Interac, and especially this group, a little bit like the sentinels of knowing what's happening tomorrow, but also what's happening in 3, 4, 5 years, and how we can future-proof the organization as well.
Interac, with our history and legacy of governance and trust and really being at the center of all these banks, I think more than the institutions themselves, we've been able to really take perspective from all different players in the ecosystem and really understand what are different user groups and user tranches. And I think that actually allows us to look more widely now as we face the future, to think, okay, here are some traditional players, but what are the non-traditional players, and how do we bring them into the fold in conversation?
If we can do our part to ensure that we play a role in encouraging openness and sharing of information and sharing of resources, I think collectively we can do quite amazing things together for customers, and in this case, for consumers and small businesses.
What we've recognized is I don't actually need comp sci majors alone to do development work. I don't actually only need MBA graduates to be doing a certain type of research, or PhDs. I don't need just the business majors or the political science majors, because we're looking at a lot of regulation and legislation changes. If we get a broader spectrum, from anthropology to philosophy to you name it, all the way down from high school to PhD, that gives us a good purview that actually influences a lot of the work that comes out from our team.
Canadians know us for payments. That notion of common good allows us to enable Canadians to transact securely. But I think probably more relevant than that is allowing us to help drive the strength of the digital economy.
Think about the generations after us, and think about the life that you want them to live, that they can live, the potential that they have. But also think about the generation after them. And when I think about that and the potential that we have today as a company, as partners, and as an industry, That is very important to building future generational prosperity.